Which curly hair products actually tame frizz? Well, I have found that about 90% of them don't. So I'm gonna share with you the products that are actually anti-frizz and have tamed frizz for me, who has naturally very frizzy hair. If you are new to my channel, welcome. My name is Gina, and here I make videos all about naturally curly hair. I love helping you problem solve with your curls and really digging into the ingredients and hair care products, which is what we're going to do here today. So let's go ahead and get started. So the categories that we're going to cover in terms of styling products that are actually anti-frizz include gel, mousse, and hairspray. If you are not using one of those forms of styling products, you can't really expect your curls to not have frizz. Products such as leave-ins, curl creams, oils, foams, they don't provide a lot of hold on the hair, and the hold is what you need to actually tame frizz. Oils can kind of help lay down the frizz by weighing down the hair, but they're not truly going to give you long-lasting hold in your hair. You need holding ingredients. So the products that I'm going to cover here today actually have those ingredients that will give you long-lasting hold and not just weigh down your hair. So let's first start off with gels, and I'm going to list these in strongest to lightest hold gels. I'm really only going to talk about strong hold gels and medium hold gels because light hold gels just don't hold up in the hair, at least in my hair. But if you're someone who has very healthy hair that's not very frizzy, then you can definitely get away with light to medium hold gels. First up, we have the Curlsmith fragrance-free shine gel. This is a level 9 hold, and Curlsmith is one of the few brands that's actually pretty accurate when it comes to their hold levels, which hold levels can totally be subjective, and it really does have to do with your application technique, but for the most part, you're going to get very strong holds with this. This is a fragrance-free gel, which is nice for those of you that don't like fragrance. They do have an entire fragrance-free line. And this one in particular is strong hold just like the in-shower style fixer, but I find this one to be just slightly more lightweight because it doesn't have as many oils and butters as the in-shower style fixer does. So I usually will reach for this one over the in-shower style fixer, which is part of their moisture recipe. So this one has humidity blocking polyquaternium, which is awesome. It does have a thick, clear consistency. This is actually thicker than what I prefer for my gels. A lot of stronghold gels do have that thick consistency, and if you're someone that has very fine hair that gets overly soft and really struggles with volume and that texture in your hair, then you might actually like thicker gels. But I personally like a thinner consistency. I do still use this. I actually just used it my last wash day, but I just have to use a small amount and maybe just use it as like a topper or mix it with water and dilute it to more easily apply it because it is that thick consistency. So if that's not something you like, or if you have coarse hair like me, then you might not want to go with this one. But I did want to share an option that is fragrance free, and this one's definitely very strong hold. I almost included the Curlsmith Souffle, which is another pretty strong hold gel, but that one I have a hard time recommending just for everybody because you can overdo it with that gel to where you can't even scrunch out the cast, and it can give a very like piecey look if you use too much. So I find it to be a little finicky when it comes to the amount that you can use. I still have a hard time getting like the perfect amount, but if you can nail down the amount, that's another really good one that is strong hold. It just doesn't have humidity blocking ingredients. And again, that's the Souffle from Curlsmith. Also, if you're wondering why I'm not including the Frizz line, that's because they don't have a stronghold gel yet in that line. I am praying that they come out with the stronghold gel in the anti-frizz line that's from Curlsmith because that's a great line. It just uses oils and things like that to tame the hair. So that can be a little bit heavy for someone with super fine hair. And they also don't have a stronghold gel yet. The retainer in that line is more of a light hold jelly styler that sort of acts like a cream. So that's why I didn't include that. Moving on to a drugstore option that's very similar to the Shine Gel, but at a much lower price point. This is the Not Your Mother's Curl Talk Hard Hold Gel. This is the hard hold version, not the original light hold version. You guys know I've talked about how much I don't like that one here on my channel, but I do like the hard hold version. It's just too thick for my preferences. So this does have that clear, thick formulation, but it is very strong hold. It's definitely very long lasting, and the hold actually does stay in your hair after you scrunch out the cast. Again, I have to dilute it when I use this, and I definitely have to pair it with creams underneath or pair it with like a mousse or something like that to just dilute it a little bit because it is pretty thick. This does contain some proteins, and it also has the potential to leave a residue or some buildup on your hair if you're someone that doesn't really use lathering shampoos, and if you don't clarify, and if you were to use this every single wash day, you might notice some buildup. So just make sure that you're using some stronger shampoos if you're gonna go with this one. Unfortunately, there's not a ton of really great stronghold gels from the drugstore, so that's why I did want to include this one, even though I just wish it was thinner in consistency. Next up is a pricier option, but this contains all natural ingredients that do not build up on the hair. This is the Innersense I Create Curl Memory. This is actually what I have in my hair today because I wanted to try it with a different combination of products. So I do have a video using this if you do want to see it. I believe it was in a deep conditioning video that I did. And this is their new product that's a jelly styler. So they have their I Create hold, which again is too thick for my preference. It does work great, but I find this to actually be stronger hold than the I Create hold. So this is the Curl Memory. It's more of a jelly consistency, so it's a thinner gel, which I personally really like for my hair. And this actually uses a sugar complex as the holding ingredient. So it uses sucrose and then it has aloe in it, rice extract, but it's actually protein free. That's just an extract. This one doesn't have any protein. A lot of the Innersense products are heavy in the protein, and Innersense products are also very concentrated. And so this product in particular, and along with another foam that I'm going to talk about in a minute, I find it difficult to nail down the perfect amount to use. So I was pretty sparing with it today because I didn't want to overdo it, because this will give you an extreme cast that you can't scrunch out. Not as much as the foam that I'm going to mention in a minute, but it definitely gives you a strong hold, and you won't really be able to get that crunchy cast out if you use too much. And I'm sure you guys know I probably definitely used too much the first time I used it, because I'm usually very heavy-handed with gels because I do like strong hold, so I tend to overdo it. But I used less of it today. I also used their Quiet Calm Curl Control Cream underneath of it and their I Create Volume. So before I hadn't tried the I Create Volume underneath, and I do feel like I have more volume and fullness in this routine compared to when I use this by itself. But it is a one and done styler. Like, it is very moisturizing. You can use this by itself. You just have to really tweak the amount that you're using in your hair, because you can really overdo it, which is the case with all Innersense products. They're not the most beginner friendly, which is why I don't tend to recommend them for everyone, but it does give a lot of hold. So if you really struggle with hold, this is a good one. And if you do really like natural ingredients, this doesn't have any of those more synthetic type of polymers in it, which is actually what I prefer. But for being a sugar-based holding ingredient, I'm surprised at the amount of hold this has. Actually, almost too much hold. So it's a good one, just keep that in mind. Also, there's no humidity blocking ingredients in that one either. The one downside to the I Create Curl Memory gel is if I don't use enough of it, I do end up with some frizz, and it doesn't pass the strand test. If you saw the video that I did comparing the AG gel to the Ouidad gel, you'll see I do that strand test where I kind of run my finger down to see if it holds up. And this one doesn't, unfortunately. So it's like it gives you really strong hold, but it does sort of break up. So you do get some frizz if you do touch your hair a lot. And so you probably will have to touch up on day 2. So that's the only downside to this one, is I do get some frizz with this. Can you guess what gel is next? I'm sure you can, because I talk about it nonstop here on my channel, but that's the Ouidad Advanced Climate Control Stronger Hold Gel. So again, I mentioned I was placing these gels in order of hold level. And the reason I'm including this here and not at the very top is because this gives you more of a soft, flexible, or not soft, but it gives you more of a flexible, strong hold. So it's like its own category, and same with the next gel I'm gonna talk about. But this gives you strong hold that actually stays in your hair even after you scrunch out the cast, but your hair feels soft. So your hair is soft and you don't have frizz, which is just like the holy grail of all gels, which is why I love it so much, because it's really hard to achieve that. And I'm super picky with gels because I tend to compare everything to this and the other gel I'm gonna show. So this is actually very moisturizing. So I consider it to be a medium weight formula. However, the viscosity of it is a very thin, slippery consistency. So it's very thin and lightweight in terms of the formula and how it feels, but it does contain some moisturizing ingredients like shea butter, which is why I consider it more of a medium weight gel. If you're somebody who struggles with softness, like overly soft hair, like I mentioned before, very fine hair, you probably will find this to be too softening, and that's the main complaint that I've heard from you guys when using this. So you might need to add in a product to give you some more grit, maybe add in a foam if you do still want to use this, or opt for another gel that I'm going to mention here today. But this is one of the few gels where you can scrunch out all of the cast and still have that frizz control without the hard crunch, which is very difficult to achieve. So this does contain protein ingredients in it. It actually has a couple, and it also has multiple polyquat ingredients. So it's literally designed for humidity. That is one thing that I often will look for in gels, is a gel that contains multiple polyquat ingredients, and I believe this one has 4. So it's definitely going to do the heavy lifting when it comes to humidity. So if you live in a humid climate, I would go with that one. You might even need to add a hairspray on top of it if you do want stronger hold, because as I mentioned, it is softening, but you still get really great hold. One other key feature that makes this so unique is the ease of refreshing. I basically don't have to refresh very much at all with this, but when I do, I can just use a little bit of water and it does reactivate. And because it has so much slip, you can easily detangle if that is something you need to do on refresh days. I also just wanted to call out that if you're going to get this gel, make sure it's this one in the red bottle that I will link down below, not the one with the white label that has red lettering. So many people get that confused and they might go in the store and pick up the white label, but that one does not have strong hold at all. It's barely even a light hold gel and it basically looks like nothing in my hair, but the labels are very similar. So just make sure it's the one that says stronger hold and the label is solid red, not the white label. Next up is Ouidad's runner-up, and that is the AG Liquid Effects. I recently did a video comparing both of these gels side by side, so the Ouidad and the AG, because they have very, very similar formulas. So this has all the same benefits that I mentioned with the previous gel, except for this one I find to be slightly more lightweight and maybe just one level less of hold. But a lot of people who do want more volume and fullness in their hair, and maybe they don't need as much of the softening and the moisture as the Ouidad gel, could go with this one and it might be a better fit. So a lot of you really liked my AG results in that video because I did have more fullness in my hair and my hair was a little bit more tamed with the Ouidad one. I had more shrinkage also with the Ouidad compared to this one. So that was really the only difference, but for the most part, these are really close in formulation. Also, this only contains, I think, 1 or 2 polyquats in it, whereas the Ouidad one contains like 4. Also, this has a water-soluble silicone in it, but I'm not concerned with it because it actually does help your hair in humidity and it will wash right out with your regular shampoo, so you don't have to worry about that. Also, all of these gels, for the most part, except for a couple that I'll mention, do contain glycerin, but I don't personally avoid glycerin as long as the gel contains humidity blocking ingredients with it. We have to consider the entire formulation of a gel and not just single out a particular ingredient and say that gel is not going to work for you because it contains glycerin. You have to look at the formulation as a whole and make sure you're looking for those polyquats, so that way you're not going to get frizz from the glycerin. If your hair frizzes with glycerin, it's probably because you don't have enough hold in your products or you didn't apply it in a way that's going to give you more hold, because application does make a huge difference in how much hold that you get. The next gel is actually a glycerin-free option if you're adamant on not using glycerin, but this is the Jessicurl Spiralicious Styling Gel. This also doesn't have fragrance. They have different options from Jessicurl, which is nice, so you can get all their products in fragrance-free, so love that. This is a very simple formulation. The main difference with this gel compared to the others is it's very lightweight. So it's very light in moisture. So if you don't need a lot of moisture, if you just want a strong hold gel that's not gonna weigh down your hair, this is the one that I would go with. It doesn't really have any moisturizing ingredients in it other than it does have jojoba seed oil, but I don't even find that to be very moisturizing. Like, my hair gets almost too dry if I use this by itself. I definitely have to layer a cream underneath of it. A lot of my favorite curl creams work fine under this and the majority of these gels, but it's a good one, comes in fragrance free, which is great, and it's very lightweight. Also, I think this one can be a little drying on my hair because it doesn't have that glycerin. My hair really does like having glycerin because it tends to be very dry. It also contains 2 polyquat ingredients, so it's definitely gonna be a good one if you live in a humid area. Next one is another lightweight option, and this one is a little bit newer to me. This is the Curl Keeper Gel. This is their ultimate hold version. This is the one in the green bottle, not the purple bottle that's really popular. That one gives 0 hold for my hair personally, but the green bottle one that says ultimate hold is definitely a strong hold gel, and it's also very lightweight. So this has a very like jello-like consistency to it. It is a clear gel, but it's not clear and sticky like some of the previous gels that I mentioned in the beginning. This one actually has a little bit more slip to it. I wish it had a little bit extra slip just for my preferences, but it is very lightweight. It has VPVA copolymer as the second ingredient, which is a holding ingredient, propylene glycol, which is a humectant, glycerin as a humectant, panthenol as another humectant, and then it has polyquaternium a little bit further down on the list. So it does still block from humidity, but maybe not as many humidity blocking ingredients as the previous ones that I mentioned, but it's still a good option, especially if you do need a very lightweight option with lower moisture content in it. This also doesn't contain really any oils in it that I can tell. I don't see any oils in this one, which is why I consider this one to be very lightweight. Now let's move on to medium hold gels. I also have some drugstore options in this category because, as I mentioned, a lot of drugstore gels usually are like a medium hold, but medium hold can definitely still be used even if you do deal with a lot of frizz. You'll just need to make sure that you apply it with some of those hold techniques that I've mentioned in other videos. I have a whole video on how to get stronger hold I can link for you down below, but basically the less moisture in your hair underneath, whether that's having a lot of water or using creams underneath, the better. So you need less of those moisturizing creamy products, less water in order to get more hold. That's the gist of it, but there's lots more techniques. Anyways, the Umberto Giannini Curl Jelly Scrunching Jelly is one of my favorite medium hold gels. This is like a true medium hold for me, to where I still get a little bit of frizz like after I scrunch out the cast, but for the most part it's fine and it does last into day 2. I do just have to do some touch-ups, and that's the main thing with medium to light hold gels, is you're probably going to have to touch up on day 2 and day 3 and refresh if you do have very frizzy hair like me. But this one's very lightweight. It does have a thicker consistency, but it's not thick and sticky like some of the other really texturizing gels that I mentioned. This one definitely has more of a smooth consistency. It kind of reminds me of this one where it's sort of like that jelly consistency, which is probably why they named it that. So this is a good one. It is a drugstore price point. This is a UK brand, but you can find it on Amazon if you are in the US like I am. I'm gonna list everything for you down below, but it's got a couple humectants in it. It has polyquaternium in it, which is great to still see humidity blocking ingredients in a medium hold gel. It's also very lightweight and it's protein free. Next up, I have the Goddess Curls Botanical Gel. So this is another drugstore brand, but this one in particular I find to be much more lightweight compared to the other Curls products, but I find it to be slightly drying if I don't use a curl cream underneath. So I do really like the Curls curl cream underneath of this one, but this one has certified organic ingredients, which is nice. It does have shea butter, so it's a little bit on the moisturizing side. I would say it's probably like medium moisture, medium weight, medium hold. It does contain 1 polyquat ingredient, which is gonna help again in humidity, and it's also protein free. I'll also link the routines that I have using these products down below if you do wanna see them in action. The next one is definitely one of my all-time favorite medium hold gels, and it's by Twist, which is actually a brand by Ouidad, which is probably why I like it so much. The formulations are also very similar between this and the Ouidad Advanced Climate Control Gel. This is their Weather Up Gel, but this one's actually more lightweight, and it also is more of a medium hold. So you don't get quite as much hold out of this one as you do the Ouidad gel, but it still has a lot of humidity blocking ingredients, and it also contains quite a few proteins in it, but it's much more lightweight. So if you want a lightweight, good gel with protein that holds up well in humidity, this is definitely one to go with. The next category is mousses, and I have probably the strongest hold product that I've ever tried in my life to share with you next, and that is the Innersense Eye Create Definition Styling Foam. If nothing has worked for you and you've even tried a lot of these gels and you still cannot get hold, try this out. And if you don't get hold with this foam, I don't know what to tell you, because this one definitely gives extreme hold. This is a foam, which I know I mentioned foams don't give hold. They usually don't. Typically only mousses give hold, but this is the one foam that does give extreme hold. So this is a very natural product like all of the Innersense ingredients, but it's actually kind of difficult to use again, because if you use too much, you get extreme hold that you cannot scrunch out, to where you end up with that crunchy look all the time. So a little bit difficult to work with, so you have to just use a very small amount, which is great because these products are definitely pricey. Also, I do have an Innersense discount code that I can leave for you down below, so that will help a little bit, and then some other codes for the other products that I will leave down below as well. So this is pretty low in moisture, like my hair gets pretty dry with this if I don't pair it with a cream. It also doesn't contain any proteins, and it also doesn't have any humidity blocking ingredients, but it does give you that really strong hold. Then I have a drugstore mousse option from Not Your Mother's. I'm sure you all have seen me talk about this many times in the past because it's definitely an all-time favorite mousse of mine. This is the Curl Talk Curl Activating Mousse. Again, these brands with their hold levels are never accurate. This says level 2 hold. I definitely get a lot stronger hold than a level 2. Maybe I just use too much and that's why. But this does provide humidity protection, even says it right on the bottle, which I love. It does contain polyquats. It also is pretty low in moisture. Like I do have to use a cream underneath of this. I can't really use it as a one and done, but if you don't have very dry hair, then you probably could. The upside to using mousse is you get a ton of volume. So if you struggle with gels making your hair look very weighed down, even when they are lightweight, try a mousse. Something that is a little bit stronger hold is gonna help give you longer lasting curls, but then you can still get that volume. Then we have the hairspray category, which is another great way to add in hold into your routine, or maybe you're someone that gel and mousses just don't work for you, but you still want hold. Maybe try just using a hairspray as your main hold styling product and maybe using a cream underneath or something. I have definitely seen people do that. The first one I have is the Bounce Curl Hairspray. This is their alcohol-free hairspray. It says medium to strong hold, but it's pretty strong hold. A little definitely goes a long way with this. You will get kind of a hard feeling in your hair if you use too much. This is the older packaging. They did recently change this to more of like a, it looks similar to an aerosol spray bottle, but it's not aerosol. This is a water-based spray, but it's easier to apply probably with the newer packaging, whereas this one tends to shoot in a straight line, so I'm glad they updated it. I just don't have that one on hand to share with you. But with the old packaging, I just have to spray it in my hands. Sometimes they even mix water in, so it's not as strong hold, and then I will kind of like glaze or scrunch it in my hair. So I do that a lot of times if I'm using the Bounce Curl gel, which is more of a light hold gel, and I need to add more hold, I will add this on top. So with a water-based hairspray like this, you can use it on wet hair. It actually works a little bit better on wet hair because obviously if you add water, that's going to make your hair wet after it's already dried. So it does work really well to use as a styler before you diffuse, or you can kind of stop in the middle of diffusing if you're not getting enough hold and miss some of this in there. I know a lot of people like to do that method as well. Another good hairspray is the Curlsmith Flawless Finish. This is the flexible hold version. They have two versions, flexible hold and strong hold. I like the flexible hold because I don't like a super like texturizing feeling in my hair. I like to still be able to have a soft feeling, so that's why I usually go with this one. But this is an aerosol type of hairspray, so you would want to use this on dry hair. So this is a finishing spray, so it's great for hairstyles. It's great to kind of spray on your hair after it's already dried. Sometimes I'll use it at my roots to really give my roots some lift. Like if you want to use some root clips after diffusing and then miss a little bit of this, it definitely holds up the volume really good. This one is alcohol free as well. I almost featured the Living Proof hairspray because I do really like that one, but I figured I would share this one in this video because it is alcohol free, and I know a lot of you guys like to avoid alcohols, but this one definitely gives pretty strong hold, and you have to use it on dry hair as I mentioned, whereas the other one is good with wet hair. If you need help picking out products, check out the shop page on my blog where there's filters for all of these different things that we talked about. So you can filter products by their hold level, by their weight, so the weight of the formula. So if you want a light gel that's also strong hold, those are filters that you can put in to find the perfect gel for you. So there's a lot of other gels that I didn't even mention in this video that are on there that I tried and I do recommend. They just didn't get picked for this video. So definitely check that out if you need help shopping for products. There's also filters on there for things like fragrance or aloe or coconut. Like I know some people like to avoid those ingredients. You can filter by those as well. If you're still needing more help with taming frizz in your hair, then there's a couple videos that I definitely recommend you watching next that's here on my channel. I will link them for you down below. I have one all about how to get stronger hold. So that one's really going to help you if you just cannot get hold and you've tried everything. It's probably your application technique. So I go over how to get more hold and different ways to do that in that video. I also have one for reasons that you're not getting a gel cast, which is similar, but it's more on the side of things that you could be doing wrong that are hindering the hold level in your hair. So that's another great one to check out if you're struggling with hold. And then I have one all about how to tell if you're using the wrong gel, and I share exactly how to pick gel. So if you're a beginner or if you've tried so many different gels and just nothing is working for you, definitely watch this one because I talk more about product ingredients and also how to assess your hair's texture and porosity to pick the right gel for you. And I give recommendations for products too in that video. And if you're curious about two of my all-time favorite gels, I actually put these head-to-head in a side-by-side routine in a recent video comparing the Ouidad to the AG gel. So if you're really stuck on which one to choose and which one is right for your hair type, definitely check that out. I also include that strand test that I mentioned on how to test your gel if it actually gives you enough hold. So I will have that video linked right here on the screen and I will talk to you over there. Bye everyone.